The reverse bear trap. The reverse bear trap in Saw looks like a terrifying device designed to wrench the victim's jaws apart until their head gruesomely splits open. On screen, it appears as a deadly mechanical contraption fully capable of ripping a person's face apart if they don't escape quickly enough, and the suspense and danger feel totally real and utterly horrifying. In reality, however, the trap was carefully engineered with safety as a priority. It was built in separate sections, with controlled release mechanisms to prevent any harm. The crew used prosthetic jaws and fake mouthpieces that could be swapped out between takes, ensuring the actors never had anything dangerous near their real faces. Clever camera angles and editing created the illusion of one solid, lethal machine when it was actually a collection of safe, manageable props. Every moving part was remotely controlled by the crew to guarantee the actors' safety throughout filming, but this was nowhere near as scary for the actors as the next one on the list, the needle pit. The scene shows the victim desperately searching through a pit filled with thousands of used syringes. She's getting stabbed by needles from every direction while looking for a key. Blood covers her hands and arms as the needles pierce her skin. The whole thing looks incredibly painful and dangerous, and can actually feel every needle going into her flesh. The actress sells the pain so well that you genuinely believe she's getting stabbed by real medical needles. But the reality is way less evil. Every single needle in that pit was made of soft plastic that couldn't hurt a fly. The crew spent hours carefully placing each fake syringe to avoid any real harm. They used visual effects to add blood and make the plastic needles look sharp and dirty. Tight camera shots hid the fact that nothing was actually piercing the actress's skin. The horror came from clever editing and makeup effects, not real danger. Even the used look of the needles was just paint and fake props. But that was nothing like the next one that could have ended badly. The hanging trap. Multiple victims throughout the series usually appear to be hanging by their necks or suspended in deadly positions. They struggle and gasp for air while slowly choking. The scenes look incredibly realistic and genuinely terrifying. You watch these people slowly die from strangulation or exhaustion from hanging in the air. Their faces turn red and they make choking sounds that seem very real. But every single hanging scene used professional harnesses and stunt safety equipment. Actors wore hidden support systems that distributed weight safely across their bodies instead of around their necks. Stunt doubles handled the most dangerous-looking moments while the main actors stayed safe. The crew used controlled rigs that could support the actors for hours without any risk, and special safety coordinators monitored every hanging scene to ensure actor comfort and safety. The choking sounds and facial expressions were just really good acting, not actual suffocation. This proves how much actual safety goes into making you think someone is dying. But this next death scene could have actually gone horribly wrong. The glass coffin trap. The trap looks like an impossibly tight coffin, slowly closing in on the victim inside. You see the walls inching closer, leaving less and less room to breathe. As panic sets in, the victim pounds on the hard surfaces, trapped in a shrinking space where escape feels hopeless. The tension is palpable, the fear real, and you can almost feel your own chest tighten, watching someone slowly suffocate and struggle for life in such a confined coffin. But behind the scenes, the coffin was carefully engineered for safety and filming ease. The walls were built with removable panels and roomy interiors, not nearly as tight as they looked on camera. Clever camera angles and multiple camera setups created the illusion of a tiny, suffocating space while letting the actors move freely and safely. The actors could exit easily through hidden openings between takes and never actually endured true confinement. Every detail was crafted for maximum intensity without risking the actors' comfort or health. This trap shows how Saw makes you squirm in your seat with expert use of tension, artistry, and smart production tricks that keep all the terror on screen without real danger on set. And the next trap shows just how much thrill goes into making you squirm in your seat. The razor wire trap. Paul gets tangled in razor wire in a dark basement and struggles to escape. The wire appears to slice deeper into his flesh with every movement he makes. Blood pours from cuts as the razor wire gets tighter around his body. The trap looks like it will slowly cut him to pieces if he keeps struggling. You watch in horror as the wire seemingly slices through skin and muscle with every desperate attempt to break free. Every piece of razor wire was completely fake with retractable razor edges that couldn't cut butter. Crew members controlled the wire remotely to create the illusion of tightening and cutting. The razor edges were dull props that couldn't actually cut anything, not even paper. Not just that, practical blood effects were also added in post-production to show cuts and wounds that never actually happened. It was all about quick editing and camera angles, which sold the idea that the wire was slicing through flesh when nothing sharp ever touched the actor's skin. But this next deadly trap will make you question everything you thought you saw. The knife chair trap. The spike-covered chair that impales victims was equipped with hidden safety mechanisms that made it completely completely harmless. The chair appears covered in dozens of sharp metal spikes pointing up from the seat and back. Victims get forced down onto the spikes and appear to be impaled through their bodies. It is a deadly chair that makes victims' blood pour from multiple puncture wounds as the spikes pierce their flesh. More than that, the chair actually looks like a medieval torture device designed to cause maximum pain and suffering, and can almost feel the spikes going through your own body while watching. It seems deadly, but in fact, the spikes were completely retractable and controlled by hidden mechanisms underneath the chair. They could be extended for wide shots and retracted instantly when actors sat down. The actors wore protective padding and specially designed costumes to hide safety equipment, and only quick cuts and editing made it look like spikes were going through bodies when they were actually retracting safely into the chair. And speaking of hidden safety features, this simple trick fooled millions of viewers. The Spikes Trap. The spike trap threatens to impale victims from multiple directions at once. Its sharp metal spikes slowly move toward the person from the walls and ceilings. The victim, on the other hand, has to make impossible choices to avoid getting stabbed because each spike looks exactly like a razor and is capable of killing anyone instantly. However, behind its terrifying look, every single spike was actually made from soft foam and coated with realistic metallic paint. The foam was completely harmless and couldn't hurt anyone, even with direct contact. Strategic camera angles made the foam spikes look sharp and threatening from every direction. Sound effects added the impression of metal scraping, which makes it even more painful. The realistic paint job sold the illusion that these were actual, deadly weapons when they were basically just harmless movie props that actors could safely bump into. This proves that the simplest tricks often work the best for fooling audiences completely. But this next one will surely make a fool out of you. The Pendulum Trap. The pendulum features a large pendulum blade suspended over a victim who is shackled to a metal table. The blade swings down gradually, moving closer and closer to the victim's body, threatening to slice them in half. This swinging blade operates slowly, almost tortuously, adding a chilling sense of inevitable doom. On screen, the blade looks like a deadly pendulum, descending with chilling precision toward its target. The victim's struggle against this slow-moving execution device makes the scene pulse with dread and tension. However, during filming, the pendulum blade was not swinging with deadly speed. The blade's movement was controlled to be slow and deliberate for safety and timing. The terrifying effect of the pendulum's deadly swing was amplified by careful editing, camera angles, and sound design. Sound effects added the ominous whoosh and scrape of the blade cutting through the air, ramping up the suspense. The actors were always safe, strapped securely, and protected on set. And the slow blade movement and production effects created the illusion of an unstoppable swinging death sentence while maintaining full safety during filming. But the next scene also happens slowly, but it will make you feel so quickly terrified. The Water Box Trap. In the water box scene, the victim appears trapped in a water-filled box and slowly drowns as the water levels rise higher. They pound on the walls and scream for help as their head goes underwater. The scene shows someone genuinely fighting for their life against drowning, and it causes genuine panic while watching, as someone runs out of air and struggles to survive, especially when the underwater shots look terrifyingly real as bubbles escape from the victims' mouths. But safety divers were actually present during every single underwater shot to ensure the actors' safety at all times. Professional stunt coordinators also monitored breathing and provided immediate assistance when needed. The water scenes were filmed in controlled environments with extensive emergency protocols in place, and the actors were never in actual danger of drowning during any underwater sequence. Clever editing created suspense and panic while maintaining complete safety for everyone involved, and the panic you see is just really convincing acting, not actual fear of death. But this next high-tech death trap wasn't actually high-tech at all. The Laser Trap. The laser hallway appears filled with deadly laser beams that can slice through human flesh instantly. Victims have to navigate through the laser grid without touching any beam. The lasers look precise and incredibly dangerous, like something from a high-tech spy movie. One wrong step means getting cut in half by an invisible laser beam. The red beams look hot enough to burn through anything they touch. Those precision lasers that slice through victims were just light effects and green screens with special contact lenses for eye protection. The lasers were created using simple light effects and carefully placed reflective materials. Actors wore special contact lenses to protect their eyes from bright lights during filming. Green screens were used extensively to layer realistic laser effects in post-production without any actual laser danger. The precision cutting effects were added digitally after filming was completely finished. No real lasers were ever used during any filming, just creative lighting and computer effects. The deadly precision was pure movie magic, not actual laser technology. And this chilling scene shows how makeup and atmosphere can sell pure terror without real danger. The Freezer Trap. In the movies, the victim appears to be freezing to death in a cold room, or what seems to be an industrial freezer. Their breath becomes visible as the temperature drops dangerously low. Ice forms on their clothes and skin as hypothermia sets in gradually, and the victims slowly slowly lose their consciousness from extreme cold exposure. The freezing torture scene actually used insulated costumes and carefully controlled temperature to simulate deadly cold. Actors wore heavily insulated costumes under their regular clothes to stay completely warm during filming. The crew used controlled cold air and special refrigeration effects to create visible breath and realistic frost. Makeup artists added ice effects and blue skin coloring to simulate hypothermia symptoms. The pacing was kept deliberately slow to sell the impression of someone getting sluggish from a cold. Real freezing was never involved. Who was not of leader? Just controlled cooling and practical makeup effects that looked convincing on camera. But this final revelation shows how special effects can be surprisingly simple yet effective. The drill chair trap. The trap looks like an ordinary wooden chair, but it's rigged with a powerful mechanical drill poised to descend on the victim trapped in the seat. On screen, the drill appears to spin at terrifying speeds, aimed straight for the victim's body, making every second a race against gruesome injury or death. The victim's panic and desperate struggle to escape makes the scene even more unbearable to watch the deadly setup. Behind the scenes, however, safety was the top priority. The drill mechanism was either non-functional or moved very slowly during filming to prevent any harm. Clever camera angles and editing created the illusion that the drill was spinning at deadly velocity, inches from flesh. Special effects, including sound design, added the chilling vibes and grinding noise of a lethal drill in motion. Aside from that, actors wore protective padding and were securely harnessed to keep them safe, no matter how intense the scene appeared. But this final revelation proves that even the most realistic-looking death scenes always prioritize safety over authenticity. The real secret behind all Saw deaths. The Saw franchise built its entire reputation on incredibly realistic torture and death scenes. Audiences genuinely believed they were watching people die in the most horrible ways imaginable. The deaths looked so convincing that viewers questioned how the filmmakers could legally show such graphic content, because each trap appeared to be an actual working death machine that could kill someone in real life if they actually built it. But every single death was created through a careful combination of safety protocols, practical effects, and creativity. No actor was ever in real danger during any death scene filming throughout the entire franchise. Professional safety coordinators, experienced stunt performers, and talented special effects teams worked together to create the perfect illusion of death without any actual risk to human life. This proves that the best horror movies sell you on completely impossible scenarios by making total safety look like genuine danger. So, the next time you watch a Saw movie, remember that every mechanical death trap was designed by professionals whose main job was keeping everyone completely safe. The real horror was always happening in your imagination, not in any actual danger on the movie set. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every painful death in the Saw movies, click the video on your screen.